Hey, have you ever wondered if King Arthur Camelot? What about if Merlin was an evil ghost? Well, we have a Scooby-Doo episode for that second one. When watching the Scooby-Doo show, do you ever see that creepy wizard-looking dude in the opening theme song where he appears in smoke, or is suddenly a different color while Scooby runs off, and wonder who he was? Same episode. Several shots, in fact, originate from this early first season episode. The spook we're looking at today was in fact so memorable that the ghost of Merlin was one of the villains chosen to be included in the museum in 2004's live-action Monsters Unleashed film, though he didn't come to life. Good thing as well, the live-action costume here is about 5,000 times scarier. Indeed, obviously, today, we are looking at Season 1, Episode 6, originally part of the Scooby-Doo Dynamite Hour, Scared a Lot in Camelot, originally aired October 16th, 1976. As the ghost of Merlin and setting of King Arthur's castle might suggest, this episode is pulling from the legend of the iconic king himself. You probably know about the legend of the great King of England, and if you don't somehow, even from Disney's Sword in the Stone at the least, I'm probably not the best one to go over it with how long that would take. What's really most important is that, like even in the Disney film, King Arthur had a mentor, typically known to be a prophet and magician to the king. Maybe you at least know the popular BBC series where he takes center stage in that reimagining. Either way, this man, Merlin, is usually not the bad guy, the way we'll see him today. However, that's not always the case. In the iconic 1889 classic by Mark Twain, a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court, Merlin indeed becomes the villain. You've probably seen a few movies with a play on the name with a modern take on that one. And before you get upset that I'm glossing over it, we do have a modern elephant in the room. That is to say, one of the final modern DTV movies before they shut them down is very much a sister to this episode. Released back in 2021, The Sword and the Scoob, obviously a reference to The Sword in the Stone, also pulled from the same legends, with a lot of similarities. With the gang also being at King Arthur's castle like this episode, we see the apprentice of Merlin, and find out about Shaggy's family having ties to all of it, just like we're going to be seeing some of his family in this episode. I'm not going to detail that here though. I do have plans to talk about that movie later, so I'll be saving that for another time. Just know it's coming separately, and I am aware of the similarities. And probably no surprise, the DVD for that movie does include this episode as a bonus feature. Likewise, the 2013 DVD set, 13 Spooky Tales, Run for Your Life, also includes it in the compilation in addition to the season set. There are a lot of other things to get into, but I think it would simply make more sense to dive into that as we go over the episode itself. So let's take a look at this mystical magical mystery of Merlin. The episode opens as we pan up to King Arthur's castle, attacking us with bats, while we also hear music score originally composed by the late Ted Nichols, as first heard in the original Where Are You series, with the episode mixing in some of his classic work alongside new score by Hoyt Curtin throughout. We come upon an obvious relative of Shaggy, reading a book titled Knights of the Round Table. Suddenly, a shadow comes up and frightens him, and I love how he's not only voiced by Shaggy's actor Casey Kasem, as is more often the case than not, but that he just straight up sounds identical.
No, like it can't be!
Meanwhile, we see this sign advertising Zarko the Magician, who I'm sure won't be behind a ghost wizard or anything like that later. Don't worry about him. Well, actually, he's voiced by John Stevenson as we see him perform. In Scooby terms, that means he's got a 95% chance of being guilty. The boys are not interested in volunteering for him until they hear the prize will be 2 free dinners, in which case they finish their popcorn and rush up. They look a little sick hearing he's going to saw them in half, though.
Could we, have our dinners first, please?
Daphne starts sobbing as well, appreciate her empathy for them, though Velma assures her it's fake. The boys rock themselves over to escape, with their bottom half running off separately, running into this table that exposes Zarko's tricks and has the entire audience laughing at the magician. With both halves crashing and a second man revealed to be in the bottom, the audience starts actively booing Zarko, while the boys are just relieved to be whole. The magician being exposed as a fraud and humiliated, however, does mean they lose their free dinners, so they run to the others as Fred says they should already be at Shaggy's uncle's place anyway. As they drive through the stormy night, Shag points it out for them, where they find it to be this old-looking castle. According to him, his uncle Shagworthy liked the old castle in England so much, he had it shipped over and rebuilt stone by stone.
He must be a little weird to do that.
Not the first time this has happened in the show either. You might remember that last year, we covered the Haunted Horseman of Hagglethorne Hall from the new Scooby-Doo movies, where that castle was moved the same way. With that, we can also presume most of Shaggy's family to be fairly wealthy, with him referring to Shagworthy as a zillionaire here, and one of the world's biggest jewel dealers, not to mention his uncle Nathaniel with a big estate in another new Scooby-Doo movies episode that we covered in the Harlem Globetrotters video. Even Shaggy's own parents have a large estate in Wedding Bell Booze from the new Scooby and Scrappy-Doo show. Velma is impressed by how much it's like what you see in the movie, movies, down to a moat, and they see someone there they believe is welcoming them, only to warn them to leave. He says he's the caretaker Clarence, and that his master, Shaggy's uncle, has disappeared. According to him, Shagworthy was a victim of the curse of Camelot, as this is indeed King Arthur's famous castle from Camelot. He really must be rich if they allowed him to take something so important. Clarence says that with the castle, though, he also brought back the ghost of Merlin and his evil servant, the Black Knight, not to be confused with the knight of the same name from the very first premiere episode of the franchise. As Fred says they aren't leaving until they find the uncle, the ghost of Merlin laughs as he materializes from smoke, sharing the exact animation in the theme song. And yes, he is voiced by John Stevenson. For not following his warning against intruders, he takes it out on Clarence, poofing in the Black Knight, who grabs the man and walks through a wall with him. The wizard then warns the gang to leave or suffer his black magic as well, then poofs away once more. This does nothing but make Fred certain of going in, and the door politely opens up on its own for them.
What a creepy place. Your uncle even brought over the spider webs.
Also, every time they color in Daphne's eyes fully in this show, it is still so off-putting. As the boys look at this painting, relieved to have found nothing, Merlin suddenly appears in it, making Shaggy need to scream. Except his throat is so dry that he can't make a sound and needs water. Thankfully, a spirit offers him some and refreshes him up.
Mike, thanks!
It's all right.
They run off to tell the others, except they mainly just babble a lot, and yet Velma can still translate it. They see the shadow of the Black Knight as its footsteps get closer, so the boys run right into a brick wall that actually does open, revealing a secret panel. Daphne has so many frames here where she looks totally bonkers. They need to chill on my girl. Anyway, what she's looking at seems to be King Arthur and those knights of the Round Table. Though not ghosts as Shaggy fears, just mannequins representing them. Well, that is until a ghost comes out of one of them, followed by the rest of the giggling ghoulies. While the boys hide under the Round Table, the trio run off as the spirits chase them, floating effortlessly through the door. Before the boys can move, Merlin steps up to warn them again, magically lifting the table so the Black Knight can take them. They get some ghost clown deja vu as Merlin whips this out and starts to hypnotize them, making them his slaves who immediately start bugging the hell out of him and making him already regret being here. He corrects them into being evil and they both just start growling, and as he tells them to do something evil, Scooby literally takes the dude's ankle and bites it. He is not having a good time today. He takes them into his little Merlin headquarters where he informs them the others are in the library, and they are to dispose of them by pulling the Falcon's feather lever, which will dump them in the moat. He sends them down the shortcut, shooting through a chute, as the others indeed investigate the library and deduce Shagworthy must have been taken here in a struggle. Velma believes he might still be inside, and finds a red scarf, looking to be one of our first clues left behind. The boys suddenly slide in from a secret door, and gather themselves to execute Merlin's orders, but Scooby pulling the lever triggers it under Shaggy. It's only funny because it's not him. As Fred helps Shag, Velma picks up on their odd behavior, the feeling getting stronger as they follow her with evil intentions, and she can feel it. As the trio later conveniently stand under this chandelier, the boys prepare to drop it on them, almost getting caught as Velma again feels they're up to something at this point. Incompetent even under hypnosis though, they tag along with the rope when they free it, sending themselves crashing up instead.
You wanted to know what they were up to? It looks like the ceiling.
As they fall, Velma realizes what they were trying to do, confirming the two seem to be hypnotized by Merlin. Velma has an idea though, tying a Scooby snack to a string as she hypnotizes them back out of it.
It's just a matter of stomach over mind.
Fred asks what they remember, but they actually don't seem to remember anything, so the search goes on. As they walk the dark halls, they suddenly hear a moan coming from this cell in the dungeon. With no keys to see who's inside, Velma remembers Scooby's nail trick, so he pops into key mode and unlocks whatever is waiting, falling inside during the process. Looking in at the continued source of horrible moans, they find Scooby and a locked-up Uncle Shagworthy. Turns out all that moaning was him, explaining it's actually his stomach making the sound because he's so hungry. Likewise for Shaggy.
Like uncle, like nephew.
Seems Shagworthy loves Scooby snacks as much as his nephew, building his stomach back up on those as he tells them the ghosts would start appearing at 12:15 every night, as if searching for something.
12:15? I thought ghosts always started prowling at the stroke of midnight.
Fred's pretty sure this is another clue, but they need to find the ghost to be sure of anything, and Shagworthy excuses himself because of his allergy, to ghosts specifically.
Like uncle, like nephew.
They check out the treasury room, or as Fred says, treasury, but it's been ransacked, probably by the ghosts. Shaggy wonders what good this would all be to a ghost, which Velma says they'll ask when they catch them. They just need to figure out how. But stopping a wizard sorcerer guy isn't exactly easy, and they haven't much time to think it over. Hearing the cackling return as the ghosts pour out of the wall, they run out with the Black Knight stopping the boys with a poof and dropping them down a trap door. The trio manage to lose the other spirits and hear the boys shout from below, now confronted by Merlin. They manage to slip away, and by the time the gruesome twosome make it to the door, they're met with these clearly different people instead. They demonstrate their baby products for sale for a minute, pushing Merlin off in a stroller and spinning the knight with a diaper, allowing them to get the edge. Finding a whole row of suits of armor, they hide inside one as the baddies catch up, while the trio hear the knight headed their way next and decide to hide and trap him, finding themselves in a music room, and Fred seems to have an idea. As the knight passes by, Fred calls him over, and when the spirit opens the door, he tosses the harp. Only problem is it's, not the Black Knight. Hey, at least they're back together. They regroup as they determine the tower is the only area they haven't searched, where Velma believes they'll find answers. Only downside is it's way up there, not really an easy way to travel to. Fred has another big idea though, so he builds this contraption for the boys to jump down on, hopefully sending the rock with the attached rope up to the window. But that's a lot of hope that gravity is working against just to play Rapunzel. And shocker, they jump and it doesn't really make it and just falls back, landing on the board and instead sending the boys flying up. Miraculously, Scoob catches himself on the edge of the window and grabs on for dear life as he holds Shaggy, who then climbs up him safely through the window and pulls Scoob in with him. The others make it up now that it's all unlocked, and Velma immediately sees some kind of electronic organ, believing they might have just solved the mystery. All that's left is to trap those two spirits, for real this time. Needing bait, the boys fold even easier than normal for a couple of Scooby snacks between them, and they prepare their final act. Merlin and his knight walk the halls looking for them meanwhile, stopping as the boys pull up with a special delivery for them to sign for. And they do all that just to throw some pies in their faces. Classic work, really.
What? No tip?
Back at this organ where the trap has been set, it has a whole screen that they use to somehow look at footage of the boys being actively chased. Pretty advanced stuff here, really. Does the castle have cameras everywhere? How are they attached to this thing? Anyway, back to Merlin. He continues his search for the boys in here, finding them and thinking they're very clever exposing them. Love the shape of the boys here, by the way. Merlin starts his spell to turn them into ghosts, but Shaggy blows out the candles and sends the room into darkness. The knight flips the switch and blocks the door, but Shag pulls out his own wand and says abracadabra, the trigger word for the others waiting. Daphne hits a key, and on cue, it makes those ghosts appear as if Shaggy just summoned them. Merlin is hella confused about how they did that, and Scoob takes the wand to make the final move. Careful, Scooby, Disney has those lawyers on speed dial. As Daphne works to hit her cue, her finger gets stuck in the key, meaning she can't actually turn on the trick.
Danger-prone Daphne did it again.
Scooby tries to say it a few more times, but the ghosts close in, realizing nothing is going to happen. The boys run off down the hall and jump up on the pole holding this tapestry, which is honestly impressive. But when the ghosts tear the tapestry down trying to pull them, they instead tear it and trap themselves underneath. As the boys crash on their own anyway, the others arrive to do the big unmasking. Turns out the Black Knight is just some random dude the real main culprit hired. As for Merlin, it's Clarence? Not really though. It's a double disguise, as underneath the Clarence mask, it's Zarko the Magician. A little later when he arrives to see it, Shagworthy asks how they figured it all out. The first clue apparently was when the Black Knight abducted Clarence by disappearing into the wall. In fact, it's a classic magician's trick they saw through, literally. Then there was that red silk scarf, another staple in magic acts. That organ console, apparently, is some magician thing as well, which made all the ghosts appear to sell the haunting. The most important clue, however, was Shagworthy saying they always appeared 15 minutes after midnight, as Zarko's show in town ends at midnight on the dot, and it takes around 15 minutes to get here from there.
Now it's our turn for a little magic, Zarko. We're gonna make you and your pal disappear from here and reappear in prison.
As they all sit in the library with peace in the air, Shagworthy comments that his nephew looks hungry.
Now there's a news bulletin.
While the boys wish they could wave a magic wand and make some food appear, Shagworthy is a Rogers after all, having already set it up for some to fly out whenever he needs. As the boys rush over and dig in, Scoop slowly stealing all the good stuff, Fred is still puzzled about how the crooks couldn't find the jewels. As a true Rogers, Shagworthy keeps his most valuable items in the refrigerator, which they of course didn't think to check. He even shows off probably a good $1 million worth of jewels right here. Unfortunately, by the time Shaggy digs in, someone already got most of his sandwich. and that's scared a lot in Camelot. This is a pretty decent episode of this iteration, though I do think Merlin is interesting when it comes to this particular rogues gallery. Undeniably, he's quite iconic, especially with his appearances in the theme song of every episode. I think he's a pretty okay one overall. At the same time, the Scooby-Doo show is pretty notable for some of the most iconic or truly scary villains of the original era, and I don't think he really has that. He's a fine villain, he's a threatening ghost after all, but at the same time, nothing about him actually really gives ghost. And visually, he's kind of just an old guy with pointed ears and a robe, compared to some of the truly terrifying villains designed for the series. The scene where he tries to make the boys evil is pure goofy comedy. Nothing scary about him. I mean, look at ones we talked about recently. Iron Face and the Tar Monster. Scary look and business. You can't write Merlin off because he really is pretty memorable, but I don't think he's going to be up there with the scariest villains in the same sense as those. Like some of these, I was exposed to the live-action version first, seeing the costume on the DVD bonus features of Monsters Unleashed and always finding him frightening, so it's kind of funny that that one is more of a creepy design than the original. Being in the museum shows he's memorable enough to be there though. Zarko being behind it all is kind of funny. It seems he was just randomly targeting Shagworthy by coincidence, but also had his show ruined and got humiliated by Shaggy and has genuine reason to seek revenge against him in a way that works out well. You can sort of forgive how little it would otherwise make sense. As for the Black Knight, our second one overall, he really is just a total henchman. There's nothing all that ominous or frightening about him. So if you care about your Scooby episode really having some spooky terror, I wouldn't say this one really has that going for it the way other ones do. The projected ghosts are fine, I suppose, but we do spend most of the episode in a haunted castle with legendary status, which is where a lot of great episodes take place, and it has a pretty alright mystery and clues you can pick up on and put together, so if that's something that saves an episode or intrigues you, this one has plenty. Even if it's reheating the Ghost Clown's nachos, I do think the boys getting hypnotized is also a pretty fun addition to the episode. Last time they got hypnotized, they were trying to hurt themselves, where this time they are turned into henchmen and attempt to end the lives of their friends, which is entirely humorous in execution, but is still a pretty dark idea. That's much of the episode, some dark or interesting ideas that tend to remain more humorous and light. This one doesn't have an ominous feel. Shagworthy, at least, is an interesting family member. A couple of videos back, we looked at an episode that saw a similar relative of Daphne, and he was pretty forgettable. This uncle, on the other hand, is pretty eccentric and fun for what he is, and gives us some further Rogers family lore. Much of the general lore of the franchise, of course, was not established until many years after the start. Rogers, for example, was not even yet established as the family name as of this episode. But it does beg the question of what names came from where here. Shaggy is a nickname, Norval being his given name, though that was not yet established either, while his uncle is Shagworthy. So is his name Shagworthy Rogers? Is Shagworthy his family name, confusingly? Is Shaggy named after him? Or is that just a weird coincidence? Obviously, we're not really supposed to think about it that deep, and they probably did not expect anyone to care about continuity, so we'll give them a break. Shaggy has a very interesting and complicated family tree that many decades would build upon. Again, Sword and the Scoob will be messy to look at. Shaggy's showdown just a little bit before it also adds a lot of weirdness to the family tree. I've considered doing a double feature on those for a long while because of it, or at least maybe a back-to-back two-parter, we'll see, but it's truly better to not think too hard about the Rogers. I don't think there's too much more to say here, so I'll let you go. If you like the video, like and subscribe and all that, and I have plenty of other videos on the Scooby-Doo show and more. If you want to support the channel directly, the Patreon is live. We have exclusive videos on Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, Clue Club episodes 2 and 3 with more to come, the exclusive series Wheel of Scooby and all that jazz. I'll see you whenever I do see you from here. Bye!